Hey, it's Huck, and I've got only a few minutes here to briefly give you a little update and talk about one issue that's kind of important to me. Now, I do want to give a shout out. Again, I'm not going to say any names, but I've been in a kind of a desperate situation here of late, and I'm happy to report that I am back at work today. In fact, I went back to work here for the first time again now on Sunday. I did have to work Labor Day, which kind of ties into my message of the day today. Labor Day used to be a day where American workers, hopefully had a day off, a paid day off. Well, where I work, there are no such things as paid days off. A couple of holidays a year, not Christmas or Easter, but a couple of days a year, they will pay you time and a half to come in and work. 4th of July is one of those days. Labor Day and Memorial Day are one of those days, but the company that I work for is actually owned by a Filipino company, and they don't recognize religious holidays as like national holidays, so they don't pay you time and a half for any of those days. And they don't ever give you a day off. I don't care what the holiday is. So I did work on Labor Day, and hey, I would have worked it voluntarily. Now that I'm able to work, I need all the money I can get, and I did get paid time and a half yesterday, so I'm happy about that. And I actually had a pretty good day, so that's good. I wanted to give a shout out though today to somebody I can't mention by name, but I'll tell you, I was really hurting. I would not have been able to go to work today. I am on empty as I speak in my car, and I drive about 7 miles to get to work, and I was really worried what I was going to do, but this person, who again I shall not name, came through for me big time, and actually donated some money to me, and this is not the first time. He promises that this will not be the last time. I've been in a really tough situation. I was able to go down this morning. The money cleared into the bank, today because of the holiday. It took a little while, but so I was able to put gas in my car, and I splurged. I'm going to admit it. I splurged. I went out and I bought my first cup of coffee I've had now in 4 days. I ran out of coffee about 4 days ago, and I cannot tell you how hard it is for me to get up in the morning without a cup of coffee. But today I went out and I bought a cup. Later today I'm going to go down and buy a small can of coffee so I can make some here at home. But this morning I was desperate. I went out and bought one when I went to get gas. I cannot tell you how good this tastes. Which brings me to my message of the day. There was a news report over the weekend of a young girl, I guess, who died of basically asphyxiation in her car. She was a young lady who was working 3 jobs. Maybe you saw this news report, but the fact of the matter is that this woman was working 3 different jobs and using her car to go from one, location to the next, and she was working 3 jobs because she was just trying to, well, like a lot of us, certainly like me, trying to make ends meet. And apparently she had fell asleep in her car while the car was running, and was overcome by fumes and perished. And they are saying that this young lady is the face of the recession. Now, I saw another report that some experts are now saying that this economic calamity we faced back in 2008, 2009 actually was a greater catastrophe to the economy than the Great Depression, when you take into consideration its overall effect on the American population, whether that be the number of jobs lost, whether that mean how it has affected wages, company profits, the number of people who lost their homes, went bankrupt, lost all of their investments, in many cases for a lot of folks my age and older, lost all of their savings, lost all of their retirement income, and I probably I don't question that. I really don't. I know what a significant effect it has had just here in my own small little hometown. I've never seen so many houses for sale. The prices, the values of homes, have dropped something like 30 to 40% and still have not recovered. One of the issues that I'm dealing with here is that, in my economic situation, if I could, one possible option would be for me to try to sell the house. And the truth is, the houses in my neighborhood now are worth so much less than what they were that, there are other complications, in my particular situation. But aside from those, the truth is, my house is worth $30,000 less right now than it was just 5 years ago. And the prices just have not come back. So it makes that option for me and a lot of other folks. My parents worked 50 years paying on this house, and you would think there would be something to show for that at this point. And for a lot of folks, that just isn't true. And what it all comes down to is that while in many ways our economy has recovered, at least on paper, if you look at the jobless rate, which is kind of misleading, I might add, if you look at the number of jobs that are being created, if you look at how the stock market has been doing over the last quarter or last year and a half, if you look at the profits that Fortune 500 companies are making, in all of those respects, it would seem to lead people to believe that we are in if not a robust, at least a significant recovery, and that things are getting better. But the truth is, they're only getting better for a few. They're getting better for the people that are already in the top, 1%. They're getting better for the major corporations and the shareholders for those corporations, but not for the workers of those corporations and all of the other workers who don't work for those Fortune 500 companies. And the reason is because as companies have done better, the one thing they're not doing that traditionally American companies have always done in the past is they're not sharing in their success with their own workers. Wages over the same period of time of such economic success have been stagnant. In many cases, people are further behind financially in real dollar income than they have been at any time going back to the 1940s. And that's kind of a stunning statistic if you think about it. So I know there's all this talk and movement, particularly among Democrats, that we need to raise the minimum wage. And the numbers that they're throwing out there, like $10 an hour, in fact, would not even put American workers today earning minimum wage at the same level that minimum wage workers were earning in 1975. If you account for inflation, in real dollars, minimum wage today should be probably closer to over $11 an hour. And nobody's really talking about increasing the minimum wage to anything close to that. And the truth is, we probably need to go beyond that. One of the realities that I'm dealing with is that, I only make $9 an hour. And even if they increased my wages $1 to $10 an hour, even if that were to occur, the truth is, right now you have to have health insurance and you got to pay for that. And, at even $10 an hour, they take out $200 a month or whatever for your health insurance. That's not enough money to live on. It's not. And the fact is that most folks out there that are even earning $10 or $12 an hour, and that's an awful lot of folks, about a third of America's workforce. In fact, 43% of Americans today, over the age of 25, I'm not talking about teenagers just out of high school, over 43% of Americans are earning less than $25,000 a year. Now, how much money is that? $25,000 a year. I'm talking gross income. Well, that's about what I'm earning. That's $9, $10 an hour. And 43% of Americans are earning that or less. About 30% of Americans are earning $15,000 or less. And again, I'm talking about folks that are over age 25. Now, you can go on the internet and you can look up those statistics. I guarantee you those are real numbers. We have got to find a way in this country to start investing in American workers. And we haven't been doing that in any number of ways. Private companies have largely not done that. Even companies that are having, phenomenal, record-breaking profit and success are not sharing that success, by increasing the wages or the benefits of their workers. In fact, they're finding ways to cut back. If they can make another dollar, in fact, a lot of the profit that they've been making over the last decade or two has been by slashing jobs, slashing benefits, and finding every other way to cut corners so that they can make more profit with more productivity. And the fact is, at some point, they have to share that success with their workers. And that's simply something they have not been doing. So I would say that one of the things we need to ask ourselves in this upcoming election in November is which candidate that we're likely to vote for is going to be on the side of not the American company, who's doing quite well, thank you very much, but by the worker who works for that company. The worker who, isn't attaining any kind of a reward, isn't being able to climb up that economic ladder at all, despite the fact that he's working harder, working more hours, and sacrificing more of his time and labor for less. I know in my situation, a $2 or $3 increase in my wages would make a world of difference in, what I was able to do as far as just getting by. And I'm not alone. I think that this is probably the saddest thing about living in America today, is that so many people like me are struggling. And it doesn't have to be that way. We just have to take some common sense steps toward investing in American workers again, rewarding them where they deserve to be rewarded for hard work and for the success that they bring to their company. But also we need to, as a nation, invest in people in ways that we used to do and no longer seem to have the willingness to do. Republicans largely have kept us from investing, the percentage of our gross national product on things like infrastructure. Now I know China is investing like 9 or 10%, of their overall revenue into things like bridges, dams, their energy sector, roads, construction projects. And we in the United States have been cutting back and cutting back and cutting back as we get these crazy Tea Party Republicans in office, and they want to slash the budget in every which way. The fact is, even though that we are running a deficit, we have reduced that annual deficit substantially in the last 8 years, but there are still things that we need to be investing in that are actually going to increase profitability for companies. It's going to put millions of people to work, and that is by investing in some of the projects that need to be done desperately around this country. We have bridges that are falling apart. I don't know what it is, like 2/3 of the bridges in this country are either defective or structurally obsolete that desperately need attention. We have roads all over the country that are in the worst shape they've ever been. we're investing something like 2.5% of our GDP on, of our tax revenues on these types of projects. And that is something like a fourth of what traditionally America has always done in the past. If we were to put more money into those kind of projects, not only would that put hundreds of thousands of people that are currently underemployed or unemployed back to work, but the revenue that would generate, the fact that that money is coming into the economy, those jobs are generating, new people that have now money to spend, is going to stimulate the economy in millions of ways we can't even, really accurately calculate. Those folks are going to be buying groceries, buying gas, paying their utility bills. They're going to be buying housing that, right now they're not in a situation where they can afford it. So in a million different ways, something as simple as that, something, by the way, that's desperately needed, just for the fact of the infrastructure needs that we have, would go a long way toward more rapidly improving the economy that we're having. It would put millions of people ultimately back to work. It would increase the productivity of a lot of businesses right now that are still struggling to get by, because it would bring them new customers. So the two areas that I would be focusing on if I were Democrats, because I think the American voters understand exactly what I'm talking about, and that is that we need more people working. We need a more revitalized economy that works for everybody, which means more people working, people making a little bit more money so they have some discretionary income. Like I said, this is the first cup of coffee I could afford in 4 days, and I can only afford it because somebody actually helped me out in a very desperate situation. Imagine what would happen if every minimum wage worker today, got a $2 or $3 increase in their wages. Most of that money, all of that money, would be spent. I mean, these are folks that can't hold on or save that money. They've got bills that got to be paid. They've long been neglecting, the healthy diets they should be on, and they're not able to afford, some of the food, so they're getting by on the cheap, like I've been doing. I've been living on macaroni and cheese and hot dogs and every cheap meal I can think of, tomato soup, simply because I can't afford to eat healthier. I can't afford to eat, some of the things. I can't afford to buy, chicken. So all I'm saying is, if some more money was pumped into the economy, it's going to help everybody, including these companies that have been so reluctant to share their success with their workers. By pumping more money into the economy, by paying these workers a little bit more, those workers in turn are going to improve the status of their companies, not by slashing jobs and sending them overseas and cutting their benefits, but by giving them more customers for the products they're already selling. So that's my message for today. I urge you to write to your congressman, or at least, if not that, support, vote for the candidate in your upcoming, congressional or Senate election or governor's race, this upcoming election, the candidate who supports minimum wage increases, infrastructure, investment, and other ways that are going to, pump some additional funding into our economy in ways that actually are going to put people to work and increase the wages that they're earning today. Anyway, I'm Huck. Thank you again. You know who you are. Sorry this had to be brief. I got to go ahead and upload this real quick, and then I got to get to work. I'll see you again real soon.